about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I'm honest with y'all. Sometimes we'll be too honest. And, you know, one thing that really traumatized me, and I'm not very easily traumatized. Remember, I've been through my house burning down, rape, multiple car accidents. There's enough things in my life that could be traumatizing to anybody. I don't traumatize easily. But I think I was kind of traumatized by what happened over the last decade, where you had to stay quiet if you didn't follow the left. And when I saw the canceling and people losing jobs, people getting fired or sidelined and discriminated against, and banks not giving them credit lines, and nurses losing their job if they didn't want to get a COVID vaccine, it scared me. I remember I was raised in family that survived the Holocaust. And so, we've learned in my religion and in my ethnicity to be able to pick up on when there's an abuse of power and when people are taking advantage or acting fascist or discriminating against you. And I really did not like what I was seeing the United States become. And so when Trump won, whether you like Trump or not, one thing that allowed me to breathe a sigh of relief is the idea that, okay, you're not the 0.00001% of the country and such an outlier if you support conservative ideologies, whether you support Trump or not. And so even the medical profession was sidelining individuals if they weren't on board with what Biden and everybody else was pushing. And that scared me, because my safety net is my income. I want to be able to support my family. And I saw colleagues not be able to get hired from any hospital system because they wouldn't take a COVID vaccine. That scared me. And so the idea of people preaching to the choir, like what happened with Bud Light, what's happening with Cracker Barrel. And I know people are saying, is Cracker Barrel really this newsworthy? They changed the logo. Trump is weighing in on it, telling them that, if they made a mistake, go back. They got $1 billion worth of free publicity if they play their cards right. Very tricky to do. They have a great opportunity, make Cracker Barrel a winner again. Cracker Barrel, I guess, faced backlash when they tried to take away the more homey Midwest feeling or Southern feeling of the restaurant and simplifying their logo. And that just, made headlines, et cetera. And, people ask, why is it such a big deal? Well, to me, what I see the big deal in is if a company thinks they're preaching to the choir, when a company makes a change, like they did with Bud Light with the Dylan Mulvaney, a transgender individual dancing around in a bathtub. And not that represents women. I know they were trying to be pro-women and pro-transgender, but that, the average woman does not want people to think that during a busy day when they're working and trying to support their family and manage, all their household duties and chores and all that they have time to sit in a bathtub with jewelry on. So I thought that was kind of poor marketing even in that respect. But what really bothered me is when you see companies do this or movies do this, and everything is woke. It's like Hollywood is trying to marginalize and say, look, something's wrong with you if you don't think like we do. And when you see Trump win, when you see these companies, get backlash and not necessarily getting the business because they decide to go, oh, no, we're not, at all trying to cater to those individuals. It's the whole Stephen Colbert thing. His show lost money. Of course his show lost money. His guest stars are Adam Schiff, Elizabeth Warren. That's not entertainment. And so I feel like we're going to be less traumatizing to Americans if Americans feel like they could be who they want to be. And they could support who they want to support. It's still not like that. I have friends in California who work in the entertainment industry that say they have to keep quiet. Well, then that's not America. Then that's not a free country. You should very easily in California be able to support who you want to support. But unfortunately, people feel fearful. That's not the America I know. And I don't want to see stores have backlash. I don't want to see, people go under and businesses lose money. But what I do want to see is the lesson learned. Don't be misguided and think that everybody is thinking the same way you are. And it blows my mind how narrow-minded people are. And I was talking to a woman, I think we might have been in Temple or something. And, she was talking about, oh my gosh, guns. I can't believe people carry guns. And I'm like, well, I can't believe people don't. I want to protect my family. And I'm like, half the people in this room are probably carrying a gun. They probably have, concealed carry licenses. Really? I mean, she thought that was unheard of. Maybe don't just watch MSNBC all the time. Educate yourselves. Look at all the news or watch politically biased shows. But I see the narrow-mindedness and the idea that, I'm such an anomaly because I'm conservative is wrong, and it's un-American. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. Okay, so one question I keep getting asked is, does marijuana help sex or hurt sex? If you are having issues in the bedroom or issues in terms of desire or in terms of erections or in terms of lubrication, do you smoke some weed or do you not? And it's interesting how the I don't want to call it the science per se, because I think we need more science, we need more studies, but it's kind of conflicting. You have individuals that are saying, oh, it helped, it makes everything wonderful. Now, wasn't it Annie Hall, right, where the Diane Keaton character, I think she was Annie Hall, would always have to smoke pot before she slept with whoever the main character was with Annie Hall. So, yeah, so it's definitely a conversation worth having, because I'm getting a lot of patients that are having, shall we say, changes below the waist. And when I ask them about the marijuana use, they immediately get defensive, going, well, it's not that. There's no way, because I think that helps. And I'm like, it could be affecting dryness down there. It could be affecting your erections. So what do we know? Well, okay, let's talk about the positives. So marijuana, for some, can make individuals more relaxed, right? Yeah, so they might be a little bit less inhibited. They may not be as, shall we say, nervous about, the process, and so it might allow the beginning aspects of it to go well. For some individuals, they might actually find that it helps erections or that it helps get them in the mood. So it really depends on the person. If they're more tense and tight and they anxious about things, that could change them being ready for sexual intercourse. And if marijuana inhibits that, then they may be able to, shall we say, engage easier. Yeah, I got to be really, really careful the way I speak on this. We still have FCC rules. And there's some people are saying that they have increased pleasure, that when they are high, sex feels better. Okay, I wouldn't know. So, I mean, to me, it's all good. I don't need to make it feel better, but that's what some people are saying, that there is more intensity with this. And then some people feel that they're using their marijuana to increase their focus rather than them being more distracted or attention deficit or worried about other things. They could be more focused on sex. And remember, I told you when we were talking about lack of sex drive and sex drive dropping, sometimes it's, people's hormones, sometimes it's people's evolutionary changes, whereas the human species finds that there's more birth defects the older you are. And so you naturally start to lose your sex drive the more worrisome it is for you to have progeny. And so our sex drive starts to drop because in caveman days, the grandmas, their role would help the human species more by them doing caretaking and helping moms with their young rather than them going and getting pregnant. And so, whereas the male species are still able to populate, even though older fathers can still cause birth defects. We have seen rises in birth defects with older fathers. An older mother has a higher risk of birth defects and maternal complications. So sometimes our drive just naturally drops. But also, one thing about sex drive and it changing is, when you're younger, a fire truck could drive into the apartment or house and you wouldn't care. Nothing's going to change. We're going to finish what we're doing. Whereas as you get older, I'm hearing the kids, or there's somebody outside, or the dog is barking, and so you end up getting more distracted. So they're saying marijuana might help people become less distracted so that it's not, it's like it was when you were younger, where you didn't care if a hurricane was happening. You're just doing your thing. Okay, so what about the negative effects? Well, with the negative effects, there are some individuals who get more paranoid, who get more anxious on the medication. So, then if you're like somebody like me going, oh, God, I don't want you to see me naked. Yeah, I'm not feeling as free. I'm like, oh, no, my hair. I'm not, no. So for some individuals, they might get more anxious or they might get more paranoid and they might rethink and overthink. And that could obviously hurt the sexual encounter. Vaginal dryness can happen with marijuana. And so if you don't want, pain and chafing and tearing and, that could be an issue. And some men do report erectile dysfunction in terms of maintaining an erection, keeping the erection, starting the erection. Those are things that are a big concern. And then, of course, heart rates and there's like psychosis that's been reported with marijuana and things like that. So I usually do not recommend people being under the influence. In medicine, we never want somebody under the influence when they're having sex. We want to make sure you're giving informed consent. We don't want you drunk. We don't want you. I understand people say, I want to get drunk and get laid or whatever. That we don't recommend that. We think one of the reasons why we have such a rise in STDs and STIs, sexually transmitted illnesses, is because we have people that are not necessarily focused on the condoms or making the right decisions and protecting themselves and being a little bit more diligent because they're under the influence. So to answer people's questions, does marijuana hurt or help? I would be on the side of, probably not, the best thing for the situation. But we have a growing population who is very addicted and dependent and getting tolerant to their marijuana use. And that is a growing problem. Yeah, I voted to legalize it. I told you guys I did. When Nevada had it on the ballot to legalize marijuana, I voted for it because I wanted our police free to deal with other crimes and not have to necessarily address somebody having a bag of weed in their car. I wanted us to be able to study it for medical applications, and I wanted there to be something for those individuals who were not able to get pain medication. Now that there's all the changes going on with pain medications, I wanted there to at least be some easier access if people needed it to help control pain, because I didn't want to see suicides go up as people are struggling to control their pain. So there were my reasons for legalizing it. The problem is, and I regret, although I still would have probably still voted anyway for legalization of it, but a big regret I have is how many people are using it. And it is ubiquitous. It's ridiculous. And I don't know if it's surpassing alcohol use, but for some people, their marijuana is cheaper than alcohol these days, especially in Las Vegas, which the Strip has to figure this out because you can't be selling $25 drinks and thinking our tourism is going to stay up. That's a whole nother subject for a different day. But people are finding marijuana, not the gummies, but marijuana to be a cheaper way to now become under the influence. And so one concern I do have is, where are we going in terms of our daily activities, whether it's sex, whether it's sleep, whether it's work. We have individuals where they can't sleep unless they smoke weed. I had somebody call in over the weekend, very nauseated. So he was asking for more nausea medicine, and other telemedicine doctors kept giving him nausea medicine. So I asked him, how much marijuana do you use? And he goes, I only use it nightly. And like, this might not be a stomach bug. If you're not having any other symptoms, this could be because of your marijuana. He goes, but I need it to sleep. So we've started to become accustomed to using other things to get us through daily functions. We should be able to sleep on our own. We should be able to have sex with our partner without needing something else. We should be able to get through work, get through life, get through our marriage, get through child care without needing a crutch. But unfortunately, we do. And society has been a lot more, shall we say, empathetic and open to us saying, look, I have issues. I need help. We want people to ask for help. We want people to feel like they could get help if they need. And we are not stigmatizing that. And now that marijuana is legal, rather than people going to a medical provider saying, look, I have a sleeping issue, an insomnia issue. I have an issue with alcohol. I have an issue with intimacy. I have an issue with anxiety or depression. I have an issue with work. They're self-medicating with marijuana, which I think is going to make our mental health crisis worse. So my recommendation is no on using marijuana for sex. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So if you are anything like me, you are worried about retirement. I don't see how I could retire. There's no way. With food prices and house and mortgage, and every time we finish paying off a car, something happens to it. I don't know if I told you. My husband had a truck, paid off. We buy used, so we're able to pay it off sooner than what a new car would be. But he had a truck, paid off, everything good. And he tells me that while he's driving down the highway, it just stops. It's like electrical failure. And I'm like, are you kidding me? What? And he said, yeah, this is the second time it happened. Oh, you're just telling me about this now? Well, he's telling me about it now because he wanted me. See, my husband knows how to, I might know how to work my husband, right? And win fights, but he knows exactly how to deal with me. If it's my idea, it happens. So he has to somehow figure out how to make it my idea. So he tells me, yeah, the car just died while I was driving on the freeway. I go, you need a new truck? Now. Let's pull somebody together, get a down payment, trade it in, try to get a good value. But the second time this happened, he was like, okay, reluctant. Really? Okay, if you think I need a new truck. So, I know he worked me. It's okay. Did it really happen twice? I believe him. He doesn't lie to me too much. So I believe that it happened twice, but that's frightening. Although, wait, come to think of it, you would think I would have heard about it the first time it happened because he would have needed a ride. So something's fishy. So you know what? Maybe he's lying to me. Well, as it stands, he got a new used truck. And because the trade-in value was only worth so much, and for what he wanted, now we're back to having another car payment. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. My first car I got for $1,800. No air conditioning. It was a Chevy Chevette. And I made payments. I didn't finance. It was my very first time buying a car. I was with my friend Woody. And we go to the used car place. And I get him to bring down the price from $2,300 to $1,800. They go, okay, we need $1,800. I go, I don't have $1,800. I have 200. I work at Jack in the Box, making $4 an hour. So I'm going to do what I can to, this is in the 90s, to make payments. He goes, well, then you have to finance it. And I'm like, so does that mean it's going to cost more? They go, yeah, that's how finance works. Okay, I was a biology major. In my defense, I was pre-med. So I didn't understand a lot of the financing things. I understood interest. And I said, no, my total price has to be no more than $1,800. So if you're going to finance it for me, we got to then lower the price because I don't want to pay more than $1,800 for this car. If not, I'm out of here. And so that's how they go, you know what, just make the payments. Although, you come to think of it, $1,800 for a Chevy Chevette with no air conditioning. I think it was an 86 Chevy Chevette. Well, because the air conditioner broke. You know what, I needed it. I got by. I did what I had to. And it was a car. Worked out great. But then I had to go to medical school. And that Chevy Chevette would not really do well in snow. So I had to get myself a truck. And I bought an Isuzu truck for $6,200. Brand new. Because I needed a warranty. And that one I did have to finance and make payments. So I waited tables while in medical school. And with my tip money, I was able to pay it off. And the feeling of paying off a car, that it's amazing. It's like no other. But my whole life has been, I have to pay something off. And I never really put money towards retirement. I wanted to, but then I had family who said, I need money. I need help. My dad dies. So my brother is still in high school, and my mom needed help. So I had to get them a place to live, support them through that. Had to bury my dad, bury my grandmother. The money kept going. And when you own your own business, one of the last things I was thinking about after paying staff and keeping the business running was putting money away for retirement. I did save some money, but I never opened up a retirement account. Plus, us Gen Xers, I can't speak for all Gen Xers, but we remember Black Monday, right? We remember being scared of stock market crashes and the stock market. I think we had some apprehension more than some of the other generations. And so for me, I'm like, well, I'll put it in the bank. But again, I was a biology major. I wasn't a finance major. So it was only until recently that I started a retirement account, which means I'm screwed. Okay. And you hear like Dave Ramsey says, half the people in this country don't have a retirement account. One thing that I really like about the big, beautiful bill is Trump is giving $1,000. There's $1,000 deposit into a retirement account for children born in 2025 through 2028. Okay, that's pretty cool. That is going to hopefully help children start their retirement account. So the issue we have in this country is we don't have enough money for Medicare. We don't have enough money for Social Security. And the system would have worked if the majority of Americans were working, putting money into the system, and if the government didn't mismanage the money. One of the fallacies, the biggest scam that I was naive to fall for was I started working. I was working 3 part-time jobs in college. I was waiting tables in medical school. I've always worked. So I thought that the money I was putting into Social Security or Medicare had my name on it. Now, that money would grow. By the time I needed that money when I was 65, and now it's 67, or whatever the age has been changed to, that by the time I need to tap in on it, it's there. The account, it's in a safe deposit box. I get the key. No. The government mismanages our money. The money goes to other things. And then I get told, as the baby boomers are now getting told, and us Gen X's, that the money might not be there when you need it. Well, what? Excuse me? Meanwhile, I'm paycheck to paycheck. I'm also paying off student loans. I'm raising 2 kids, working, trying to deal with daycare and family needs and extended family issues. And I'm expected to have put money away such that not only can I cover my mortgage or rent or any car payment, but also my medical expenses. It's impossible. If these Trump accounts work and kids will start off with $1,000 that could later grow into something they could retire on, that could be huge. But are families going to withdraw it? Is somebody going to spend it, saying you only live once? Are all kids going to be able to do this? Do taxpayers want to put money into somebody else's retirement when they don't have a retirement account? There's a lot of push for universal income. I'm mixed on that because I do not want citizens reliant on the Treasury, where the only way we survive is if the government feeds us. I don't like that at all. But if we don't figure out how to deal with our aging population and the high prices of things, and most of us not having enough of a retirement account, we got problems. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So the demand for do-it-yourself medicine is skyrocketing. People are done with going to the doctor. They're done with going to urgent cares, going to ERs. They want to know what they could do in their home. They want things brought to them, or they just pick up what they need and do it yourself in terms of medicine. I don't blame them going, the way healthcare is after Obamacare, people's deductibles now are through the roof. So for them to go and see a provider, it costs them hundreds of dollars just out the gate. Urgent care, same thing. People are telling me it's $500 just to walk into a door of an urgent care, at least, on average. ER is even more expensive. And so patients, now that they have access to telemedicine, they want us to, treat at home. And the demand for, Dr. Drew, I think, is selling antibiotics that you could have at the house. And one of my listeners asked, how do I feel about, people having their own antibiotics at the house? For those of us that have kids, having extra antibiotic eye drops, right, when they get an eye infection is very handy. But the problem is even me as a doctor, I can't do everything at home with my kids. My son had a really bad fever. No cough, but I noticed he was breathing quickly because in the rule in my house is whenever the kids were really young and sick, they sleep in mama's bed. Daddy, you go sleep on the couch or somewhere else because I need to monitor, the kid. And so in the middle of the night, I'm just noticing my son is breathing quickly. And I'm like, I don't think this is flu. And he ended up having bilateral pneumonia. The only way I knew that is because I x-rayed him. Can't do that at home. I had to take him to the office and get him x-rayed. And then we got him treated. And so the worry I have is people use up their antibiotics at home and then they are still sick. They're talking about in Mississippi how STDs are at an all-time high. We're hearing STDs are rampant. And according to WLBT, they said if you gather 100 Mississippians in a room, one of them has an STD. They say 1,200 per 100,000 Mississippians, or 1 out of every 100, has an STD. Gonorrhea, chlamydia, HIV, syphilis, herpes, one of them. And there's a boom of congenital syphilis, babies being born with syphilis. According to a 2023 report from the CDC, Mississippi ranked 3rd in the country for reported cases of primary and secondary syphilis, ranked 5th for gonorrhea, 2nd for chlamydia. Now, the reason why I bring that up is many people will call up telemedicine saying, I have burning when I pee. It's a UTI. So they take a medicine for UTI. They ask for one, they get it, or they buy it online, or they get it from these, you can buy antibiotics and you'll have your home medical kit with the antibiotic. But if you have an STD or an STI, that antibiotic isn't working. It's a different one. And so I've seen people burn through the medicines they have at home only to still not get better. How many antibiotics did you take to try to get rid of your COVID? And you still had the cough. So it's nice to have emergency medicine if you need it, but when you waste it on the wrong diagnosis, that's a problem. Not to mention now, you're brewing resistance and you're gaining tolerance. So how do you avoid, the ridiculous costs to go to a doctor, treat yourself at home, and get the right care? One issue we have that's complicating matters is the writing off of the medical debt. At its surface, it sounds amazing. If you have medical debt, it doesn't count to your credit score. So people are noticing that there's no consequences. It gets written off. On the surface, that sounds wonderful. But what that is now translated into is you don't get to walk in to an urgent care or a doctor's office without emptying your pockets. And can you blame these companies? If people aren't paying the bills, you could only see patients for free so long before you have to close the doors. That's what happened with us. I could have maybe lasted one more year, but when I got a teaching job, I bounced. You could only do so much giving free care. I want to give free care, but with no money coming in, I got to pay the rent. Nobody was giving me free rent. Nobody was giving me free staff. Nobody was giving me free malpractice insurance or free workers' comp insurance or free supplies. So if an urgent care thinks you're going to thumb your nose at the bill because it doesn't affect your credit score, they're going to say, you know what, we're going to collect up front. So now it's even harder to go to the doctor and get seen. So I think the best plan of action, because I want you all to get the care you need, is one, please, for the love of the Lord, get yourself a primary care physician or provider. Sit down with them and explain the situation that you're in and say, look, when I get sick on a Saturday night, doctors used to have on call. I know people would call me all night long on a Saturday night and get prescriptions for free because we would take call. We don't do that anymore. Doctors are done working for free, although now they're paying for telemedicine calls. They wouldn't pay when I did it. But say, look, if it's a Saturday night and I can't get a hold of somebody, yet the emergency room or the urgent care is so expensive, what do you recommend the best plan of action is? Because I can't afford to drop $500 at an urgent care. And talk to them about options. If you have some chronic or recurrent conditions, sometimes urologists, let's say you do have true UTIs that are not STDs or interstitial cystitis or prostate issues, sometimes the urologist might work with you on having a standing order for a medication. But if you don't have a primary care provider, you don't pay the primary care provider's bills, you are kind of out there loose, your only options are urgent care, ER, or telemedicine. But we will be moving towards a system where you do things at home. In fact, your hospital stay will be at home. Not if it's a ICU or IMC level hospital stay, but the medical home is going to be is evolving at a very fast rate, where people are saying, look, if there's no place for me at a hospital bed, let me treat myself at home. How can I treat myself at home so I just don't die because there's no hospital bed? And I support that because there's not enough hospital beds. We saw that during COVID. So how do you turn your home into a hospital, into a mini urgent care? There's going to have to be services where doctors come to your house. Well, how do we do that? Where they're safe and they don't get attacked or raped. You know, when I was in training, I told my husband, we were still doing house calls. And I remember my attending saying, stop by their house. This is their medicine. Give them. I remember my husband going, oh, hell no. You don't go to a person's house. It's not safe. So if people are going to eventually want to do it yourself or, call me or come to my house and let me do it here, they're going to have to revamp a lot of things. We're going to have to figure out how to have safety measures in place. We're going to figure out how to have liability measures in place. Because if you're not going in, a doctor's not going to necessarily want to be responsible for you doing your own care. And we have to figure out how to get health care cheaper. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.